Boys say they haven't been consulted about the terms of his release from prison. Lawyers are demanding Warboys is banned from visiting London as the Ministry of Justice insists concerns will be considered. Richard Scorer represents some of the victims.
If the release is going to go ahead, then it's absolutely essential that victims have a voice in the process of setting the licence conditions and are able to have some assurance at least that they will be safe.
Health officials have admitted they've paused some routine inspections of NHS services this month because of severe winter pressures. The NHS dominated the first Prime Minister's questions in the Commons since Christmas. Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn has accused Theresa May of failing the NHS in her reshuffle.
We know the Prime Minister recognises there's a crisis in our NHS because she wanted to sack the Health Secretary last week, but was too weak to do it.
The bodies of two British men killed while fighting against the Islamic State group in Syria have been repatriated to the UK. Sniper Jack Holmes and Oliver Hall, both 24, died a month apart last year while battling the extremist group in Raqqa with the Kurdistan People's Protection Unit. The former head of the Foreign Office has told LBC a no-deal outcome in Brexit negotiations is now less likely. It's as the Chancellor, Philip Hammond, and Brexit Secretary, David Davis, are meeting German business leaders to build support for a post-Brexit trade deal. Sir Simon Fraser says it's unlikely negotiations will be finished by 2020.
It looks like what we're going to get this year is a sort of broad political framework agreement on the future, and then the negotiation will have to happen. So actually, Ian, what's going to happen is that what was billed as the transition or implementation phase is really going to be an ongoing negotiation phase. And I'd be really surprised, actually, if that negotiation is finished even by the end of that period.
Rescue dogs are being used to look for victims after devastating mudslides in Southern California that have killed at least 15 people. Around 50 have been lifted to safety by helicopter. Francis Reid is LBC's reporter in California.
Rescue workers are searching for more than 20 people who are missing, with fears that many more may have been swept away. They've already had to rescue around 50. And to give you kind of some perspective as well, a lot of injuries. 163 people have had to go to hospital, 4 of them critically injured. It's not a great situation.
And Donald Trump's told the South Korean president he's open to holding talks with North Korea as long as the circumstances and timing are right. The pair have spoken by phone a day after the North and South held their first talks in more than 2 years. The LBC Markets report, the FTSE 100's closed up 17 at 77.48. The pound buys $1.35 and €1.13. LBC weather, some low cloud and patchy rain in the east this evening, clearer spells elsewhere with some frost forming overnight, a low of 1. From Global's newsroom for LBC, I'm Thomas Watts.
LBC travel on the M25 in Buckinghamshire. There are still 2 lanes closed anti-clockwise between junction 16 with the M40 and 15 with the M4. That's due to a crane fire earlier on. There are severe delays of around an hour and a half going back as far as junction 17 at Maple Cross. On the M2 in Kent, there are 2 lanes closed eastbound between junction 1 at Strood and 2 for Rochester because of an accident which is causing queues. And in Putney, the South Circular Road is partially blocked both ways between Putney train station and the A3 because of an accident there. There are severe delays building up on the approach. LBC Travel, I'm Ross Powell.
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation. The Nigel Farage Show.
Mr. Nigel Farage.
Thank you, Donald, and good evening, everybody. The British Army, this institution that in many ways we've been so proud of for centuries, is going through a bit of a transformation. You see, the Army have always recruited. They've done it in different ways. You think back to the First World War and hundreds of recruitment posters, but in modern times, they've used video, they've used film, they've used radio. But what I think is really interesting is that we compare the way the Army sold itself to recruits in previous years compared to this huge change that has taken place, including right now a whole new advertising campaign. They're spending 1.6 million sterling on a series of 40-second long animations exploring different questions such as, can I be gay in the Army? What if I get emotional in the Army? Can I practice my faith in the Army? Will I be listened to in the Army? And do I have to be a superhero to join the Army? And what I want to do, I want to play you those different recruitment adverts and their different tones going right back to the 1970s. And I want to ask you, is the British Army today with this series of ads, dropping its standards, or simply joining the modern world? I'm going to do my best to give no opinion. It won't be easy, but I'll do my best to give no opinion until towards the end of the show. So let's go back to 1976 and let's hear an army recruitment video from 40 years ago.
I'll tell you straight. I wondered if I'd ever get through those first few weeks. Or if I'd done the right thing. I ached in places I didn't know could ache. I didn't know whether I was coming or going. Neither did the sergeant. But then you start to get it together. And that 12-foot wall doesn't seem 12 foot tall anymore. And you realise that what you learn on the parade ground helps build up teamwork in the field. It stops being so exhausting and becomes downright exciting. Then suddenly it's the big day, and you've made it. That's when you think, for the first time in my life, I've really achieved something.
So that was 1976. It's tough. It's not easy. You ache in places you didn't even know existed. You climb over 12-foot walls even though you thought you couldn't do it. You hear some guns firing and then you march out to the music and you're proud. You've got there. You're part of a team. You've achieved something. That is Army recruitment in 1976. Let's go forward to an Army recruitment video from 2014.
With thousands of full and part-time jobs available now, there's more than one way to be the best. Apply now. Search Army Jobs.
And that video is very active and dynamic. It's people doing assault courses and jumping over things and actually, I have to say, looking like super fit fighting people. But the slogan, be the best, which of course to many in the modern world is wrong. It's bad, because that's elitist. But then, shouldn't the British Army want to be the best? I don't know. But let's move forward to modern, softer, somewhat more emotional times. Let's go to 2015 and hear an Army recruitment video from then.
Don't join the Army.
Don't what? Don't stand on my own 2 feet. Don't do something important. Something that makes a difference. Don't realise I can do more than I thought. More than you thought. Don't become a better me.
Well, that was 2015. That was dealing with negative prejudice against the Army. Didn't sound very happy or proud, did he? Or I mean, I found that, frankly, that'll put me off joining the Army, I think. But let's go absolutely up to the modern day. Let's get with Mrs. May's Modern Britain. This is the very latest 2018 Army recruitment video.
Man up. Grow up here. It feels like as a man, you can never express your emotions. I thought joining the Army would be 1,000 times worse. That any sign of emotion would be a sign of weakness. That I would have it ripped out of us. But once you're in, you realise no one is a machine. The Army is family. I've probably told them things I wouldn't even tell my own family. There's always someone there to talk to. Or even just make you laugh.
Well, there we are. Not too much about guns or exercise or fighting, but quite a lot about emotion and how you deal with it. Maybe, folks, maybe people like me who think the Army is actually should be proud of being elitist and wants to get the fittest and the strongest and the best people. Maybe we're desperately outdated and it needs to be a lot kinder and a lot fluffier. However, Colonel Richard Kemp, the former commander of British forces in Afghanistan, had this to say.
While it's a good thing to have an army that is representative of the society as a whole, of all aspects of that society, that's only of secondary importance. The most important thing is to have a fully manned army made up of people who want to and are prepared to go out and fight.
The Army has a recruitment crisis. It's had a recruitment crisis for some time. And the same applies, absolutely, to the Navy and the Royal Air Force. And one of the reasons, of course, is that we have been cutting. You know, people who've come back from tours of Afghanistan and have been made redundant. These are, I think, the negatives that have been sent out from the Army. And I wonder whether, I just wonder whether we're not making some massive mistake here. We're not assuming that the British Army, if it doesn't, it shouldn't be appealing to white people, whether perhaps it's not making a terrible mistake. Perhaps people in government don't understand the history of the British Army, because the history, going back for centuries, is that we've always had many different nationalities, different religions, different races. Together in the army, we fought with the Empire, we fought with the Commonwealth. This idea that somehow the British Army is simply one little homogenous group does not hold, in my view, with history. So I'm asking you, which of these ads works, the old ones or the new ones? Is the Army effectively dropping its standards or joining the modern world? Tell me, maybe you think the Be the Best adverts are the right ones, in which case call me on 0345 6060 973. Perhaps you think it's no wonder they can't recruit, given some of the adverts they're putting out now, in which case text to 84850. And maybe you can give me some ideas and some slogans for what the Army needs to do to recruit. And you can do that on Twitter by using the hashtag Farage and LBC at LBC. And you can watch me on Facebook and comment there too. And I am particularly keen to hear from individuals or families that have been involved with the British services over the years. My first caller is calling from very much an army town of Aldershot. His name is Craig. Good evening.
Good evening, Nigel.
So what do you think about the new adverts, Craig?
It doesn't really show you army life as such. Most of those questions that are asked in the ads can be asked at the recruitment office. I mean, it shows you really not what it's about. I mean, the army is about adventure and doing things. I served from 2009 to 2014 whilst the Army 2020 redundancy tranche was going on. That was one of the mistakes that they made, trying to turn forces into a reserve force by dropping the numbers. That demoralised a lot of people, and a lot of people who wanted to join. It makes it look like what are you going to do when that happens to you? Why would you join if that's going to happen to you?
Yeah.
Serve all those years and then get made redundant.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree. Craig, I've spoken to lots of people who frankly feel, and these are people who've been on active service in modern times, who feel they've been treated disgustingly by the Army.
Yeah, I know a guy who was a couple of months away from his 22-year pension, and he got made redundant just before that, so he wasn't entitled to it. He would have got a lump sum and a good whack pension, but unfortunately he weren't entitled to it because he got made redundant prior to that.
That's great. And so, Craig, you left in 2014, yeah?
Yeah, 2014, yeah.
And do you miss it?
One of the I did recently reapply to join through the careers office in Aldershot. And basically, all the options I actually chose apparently were full, and there was no space for me.
What?
It's quite convenient seeing they're recruiting. I went for infantry as my last choice, to be turned around and said, "Oh, sorry, that's a full-up choice."
Good Lord.
I won't name the third party, but the Army now works for a third party dealing with the recruitment process.
Do you mean some sort of advertising agency type, or what is it?
They work, basically the process and the application side is done through not the Army much anymore, it's done through a third-party company.
Yeah, I know.
A well-known,
yeah, I know.
I think you might know who I'm on about. Yeah, they basically run through it now, and they, I think they're not doing a very good job.
When you were in the Army, Craig, did you want to be the best?
Oh yeah, I did a lot in the Army that made me proud, made my family proud. Did a lot of things that I enjoyed, and that's one of the reasons I want to go back in. I miss the camaraderie. I miss a lot of the things that I managed to do. Sense of achievement.
Okay, well, Craig, the fact that you, as somebody who's got 5 years' service, who believes in the thing, wants to rejoin it at a time when we know that we're having trouble recruiting and they don't want you, I cannot, for the life of me, fathom it. And Craig, just finally, were the old adverts that appealed to, physical excellence and pride, were they better than the current series of adverts?
Oh yeah, definitely. It shows you everything about the Army, the adventurous training, the camaraderie, the friends you make for life, all the things you get to do. Any questions you really have, you can go down the careers office. You don't need to make an advert.
Fine. Great call from Aldershot. Thank you. I cannot think of a worse job for an emotionally sensitive person than joining the army. All armed forces should be supported both physically and emotionally. However, they really shouldn't be actively recruiting sensitive individuals. The last person I'd want by my side in a firefight would be somebody who'd been recruited on the basis of emotional strength, says Benny. You're listening to The Nigel Farage Show, exclusively on LBC, and it's 7:15.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast on LBC.
Theresa May promotes women and ethnic minorities to make government more like the country. Nick Clegg. Now, Sir Nick Clegg, if it is true, as is reported, that Jeremy Hunt refused to move from his health job when Theresa May ordered him, should she have fired him?
Yes, I actually think she should. I think it's been a disaster, obviously, for Theresa May to go onto the media, as you saw on the weekend, and she was finally going to be tough and impose her mark on the government, and then do it in such a botched way. Better if she just hadn't done it at all.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast every weekday morning from 7, only on LBC.
For some, it's joining a gym. For others, it's giving up chocolate. For us, it's helping you break out into a bolder and brighter career. When it comes to exciting new challenges, a career in counselling with Chrysalis Courses can help you help others achieve their goals today and all year round. London courses start this spring, so apply now at chrysaliscourses.ac.uk. Chrysalis Courses. Change your today, transform their tomorrow.
At Homebase, we're all about great value to refresh your bathroom. Take away a complete bathroom, including bath, basin, pedestal, toilet and taps, for just £208. Homebase, always low prices.
Right now, with Air Canada, you can save on flights from London to Montreal, Buenos Aires, Toronto, New York, Quebec, Punta Cana, Pittsburgh, Detroit, Mexico, Boston, Washington, San Francisco, Edmonton, Los Angeles, Atlanta, Vancouver, Cuyahoga, Montego Bay, Phoenix, Halifax, Miami, Chicago, Las Vegas, Nashville, Memphis, Varadero, Honolulu, Portland, Cozumel, Ottawa, Fort Lauderdale, Havana, Saskatoon, Austin, Moncton, Cleveland, New Orleans, Seattle, Orlando, Calgary, and so many more. The world is big, and so is our sale. Save now until January 18th for travel and select dates. Visit aircanada.com or call your travel agent.
Climbing trees, chasing cars. There's no telling what your pet will get up to next. So keep them protected with Pets in a Pickle pet insurance. Go to petsinapickle.co.uk.
Why, hello. It's me, Dracula. Relax, I don't bite much. Unlike the cost of some broadband deals, that's why I switched to Sky Broadband Unlimited. It's monstrously good value. Just £18 a month for 12 months, including line rental, plus a $9.95 setup fee. Exclusively for new and existing Sky TV customers. It's totally unlimited, and they'll never slow you down, even at peak times. Well, you don't want anything to stop the flow when you're screaming. Streaming, do you? Search Sky Broadband. Sky. Believing better. Sky Network areas and new broadband customers only. 12-month contract. Further terms apply.
You can take off, fly and land a Boeing 737 from just about any airport in the world. 100. Without even leaving the city at Flight Experience London. An officially licensed Boeing product. It's the ultimate flight simulator used for real pilot training. Our amazing sale is now on with prices from just £99. Book online at london.flightexperience.com for the ultimate gift and take to the sky at Flight Experience London.
Ambitious and determined to succeed?
Study for a 2-year degree at GSM London for just £12,000 this February and make your bold dreams happen.
Accelerated degrees are a great way to progress your career faster.
And they're awarded by Plymouth University.
Enroll now at our Greenford and Greenwich campuses and follow your dreams of success.
Act fast. Offer ends January 15th.
Search Have Bold Dreams at GSM London.
Special offer. Conditions apply.
The Nigel Farage Show on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Be the best. That's what the British Army used to say when it tried to recruit people. Now it says it's okay to be emotional in the army. And I'm asking you, are we dropping and lowering our standards? Are we losing our marbles? Or is this just a reflection of what the modern world now is? Keith here, been in the army 9 years. My opinion, the 2014-15 advert, the Be the Best one, is the best. Sorry, but fluffy, emotional stuff is just pandering to social pressure to be politically correct. But somebody else, again without giving a name, by text says, the army slogan, Be the Best, is offensive to people of limited abilities. I'm outraged. Now, I did say, didn't I, at the top of the show, that I'd do my best not to give an opinion till later. Well, I've failed dismally. Look, I'm sorry if people aren't up to it in terms of their physique, in terms of their strength, in terms of their ability to shoot a rifle. If people aren't up to it, they shouldn't be in the army. And I'm sorry if Be the Best is elitist. I want the army to be as elitist as possible. I want us to have a great army, air force and navy, and that means there are many of you out there who perhaps would want to join the army or did want to join the army that simply weren't up to it. Tough. That's the way the world is. That's my view. There we go. I've said it. I wonder what Keith thinks, who is a brand new caller to this show, who's calling from Battersea. Good evening, Keith.
Hi, Nigel.
Hi.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I think you did really well. You lasted about 11 minutes without giving an opinion.
Wasn't bad, was it? Wasn't bad.
No, it wasn't bad. But yeah, I work in marketing, so I'm not a serving member of the army. But just from kind of looking at the campaign perspective, I think it's not a case of whether it's right or wrong. I think it's a case of whether it's working for the target audience right now. So back in the 1970s, that campaign would have worked because maybe we were a bit of a less diverse nation than we are now, and obviously there's a lot more issues to deal with in the army, so this campaign's acting to deal with those issues. There have been a lot of research gone in to understand why people aren't joining the army, and I think these adverts are aimed to address those issues and try and persuade people that in fact joining the army is a good thing.
Well, Kevin, I do take your point that this country has changed in terms of its population since 1976. Okay, get it, I buy into that. However, we were still using the slogan, Be the Best, in 2014. And we haven't changed that much, have we, since 2014? Look, they have had a recruitment crisis, Kevin. That's true. But the idea that we somehow become slightly apologetic about being a dynamic, fit, fighting group of people that climb over 12-foot walls and fire rifles, and we talk about people's emotional well-being. Do you really, as a marketing person, think that's the right route for us to go down?
Personally, no. I agree with what you said previously. You've got to be joining the army for the right reasons and ready to fight and to represent your country. But I don't think those ads are necessarily apologetic. I think the people within them are still coming across as proud to serve, but they're just identifying that some of the stigma around a very, bullying culture or some sort of stigmatism that's associated with the army. They're trying to deal with those. I don't think you have to disassociate that with being proud to serve your country. I think they can do both.
No, and I think proud people can serve their country in all sorts of different ways, whatever their emotional stability or strength. But I just asked you, Kevin, I mean, if you happen to be, and let's hope to goodness it never happens, but if you happen to be in a situation of active service, in a dangerous situation, would you want somebody who was emotionally sensitive next to you?
No. In short, I'd want to make sure that I was surrounded by the best people.
Exactly.
That's my personal opinion, but the campaign I don't think necessarily alienates in that way. But to answer your question, no, I'd want the best people next to me, of course.
No. Kevin, OK, you make the point. They're having a problem. They spent money and time and research on this, and I do understand that. But my experience, folks, through politics is I've spent money over the years on research and on data, and some of it was great and useful, and some of it was frankly fit for the bin. Stella is calling from Glasgow, a new caller. Good evening, Stella.
Good evening, how are you doing?
I'm well. Now, I understand that you used to work in army recruitment.
That's correct, yeah, and I'm still a serving soldier at the moment.
Right, OK, so you've given us a false name, I would assume.
That's correct, yes.
Yeah, fine. So, Stella, have I got this wrong? I basically feel that Be the Best is a great slogan. It's about pride in the army. It's about getting the best people. And I really worry that...
I think...
Go
on. What we do is hard. And, I'm not trying to say that people can't do it, but, there is not every person, like your average Joe, could join the army. There is a reason why it's as hard as what it is. When we go on deployments, not everybody can react in a professional way that we need, and to have the mental and physical robustness that we need to protect this country and to also protect civilians in different countries also.
Yeah, Stella, I'm absolutely buying into everything you're saying. So tell me, as somebody that works in army recruitment, why have they gone for this style of advert?
So So in my 2 years working in recruitment, I saw progress with the takeover of the civilian company that the Army has involved in the recruitment process. And I believe that they're trying to give this civilian organisation free rein, basically, to see if it works. I don't believe they believe in it. I certainly don't think any soldier, if you were to ask any soldier or serving officer or whoever that's in the military, actually watch these adverts and go, these are good adverts. But I think they're trying to become more inclusive, because there is, that stereotypical sort of a soldier or an officer being racist, not inclusive, and that's just not the case. One of my best friends is mixed race, and she's Muslim. So I think these adverts are trying to break that boundary of what people assume to be the lack of openness to cultures and diversity. And I think they're just trying to bulldoze that barrier, and then hopefully we go back into a harder approach, if you like.
All right. Well, Stella, you or I are not allowed to mention the name of the third party.
Yes, obviously not.
Because you wouldn't get sued because you've given a false name, but I would. So we can't mention the firm that it's been subcontracted out to. But in short, Stella, are these current adverts that are being put out politically correct nonsense?
I believe so, because, people, if you were to ask anybody in the street, what do you think of the Army? We're supposed to be the best. We're supposed to be elite. We're supposed to be robust physically and mentally. And to, soften it up, we're kind of, the people who are serving, that's not respectful for the people who have died.
No, it isn't.
And it's not respectful for the people who continue to go out there over Christmas, spend, years of their life in the military abroad, fighting for this country, for them to be just, swept aside, if you like, with what they've been through, by making it look really soft and easy, because it's not.
It's not, and nor should it be. Stella, great call. Thank you very much indeed. And Stella, I thought they're very enlightening, saying actually, and she works in Army recruitment, no one believes in this. Well, why doesn't someone in government step in and say enough? I'd love them to do that. I wonder what Duncan in South Harrow makes of all of this. Good evening, Duncan.
How you doing, Nigel? How's yourself? All right?
Well, I'm all right, but do you know something, Duncan? I honestly think that we must be mad to almost voluntarily advertise, not just to this country but to the world, that the British Army wants to drop its standards, because that's how it seems to me.
Well, I don't know. I'm an ex-soldier myself. I served 9 years in Highland Regiment, and, I served with some good guys. And I think if you can get through the basic training, I think if you can get through the psychological side of the British Army,
yes,
and become part of the team, become part of the troop, you will become a good soldier. Whether you have issues before you come in, the Army's a great place for helping people. Not less, I didn't have a particularly great tenure in the Army. I was disabled out of the Army, but I do believe there's a lot of good people out there that don't get the chance because they think, do you know what, I'm gay. I don't know, I'm not tough. But you know what, we can turn you, or them guys can turn you into somebody else. Not necessarily somebody else, but someone better, or not even better, someone who can believe in themselves. And if you don't cut the mustard, then you're out. That's the bottom line of it, really, Nigel. If you don't cut the mustard, you're out.
No, Duncan, I do get your point. People join the Army, and very often, and I've spoken to lots of people say, well, do you know what? It made me. It put me into a team. It taught me skills.
It turned me into a good guy.
Yeah.
God,
Yeah. No, Duncan. I mean, and that's a wonderful testimony to what the Army can do. But in terms of its outward appearance, Duncan, shouldn't the British Army be telling the people of this country and the world that it wants to be absolutely the best?
Well, we are the best.
We are the best.
There's no doubt in that. We prove that more often than not. There's not another country in the world that can stand up against us, really.
All right.
For what we have done, so we are the best, and we are trying to recruit the best. And if these guys or ladies that come forward and want to join the Army, if they get through the basic training, which is no pushover beyond that, even basic army training is hard work. And if you can get through that part, and then you get through the psychological part, then maybe. But when you then join your troop or your company, your regiment, whatever, then if it doesn't suit you, you'll be out. But I understand what you're saying. I do understand. I joined the army when the slogan was "Be the best."
Exactly.
And I intended to be the best.
Good man.
And I want the best for the British Army, And sometimes I think, we shouldn't spend lots of money on over-publicising something that was a working thing in the beginning. If you want to join, you're joined, whether you're gay, bi...
You join anyway.
Sexual or whatever, you're joined.
All right. Duncan, listen, I thank you for your call. And Duncan, they're actually giving a great testimonial, having served 9 years in the forces. Now, remember, back on Monday, I went to see Monsieur Barnier, the European Union's chief negotiator, and I left that meeting less than pessimistic. Well, today, a big cast of big British businessmen, including Lord Digby Jones, the former Director General of the CBI, went to meet Michel Barnier. We'll get Digby Jones's reaction in a minute. But for now, you're listening to the Nigel Farage Show exclusively on LBC. It's 7:30 and time for the news with Thomas Watts.
Victims of serial sex attacker John Warboys claim they've still not been consulted about his parole conditions. Lawyers are demanding he's banned from entering London. Jeremy Corbyn has accused Theresa May of being too weak to sack the Health Secretary. It's as health officials have admitted they've paused some inspections of NHS services because of severe winter pressures. And 15 people are now known to have died after torrential rain caused mudslides along the Southern California coast. Homes have been destroyed and rescue workers are searching for people who are missing or trapped. LBC weather, some low cloud and patchy rain in the east this evening, clearer spells elsewhere with frost forming overnight, a low of 1.
LBC travel, the M25 is still crawling anti-clockwise from junction 17 for Maple Cross to 15 for the M4, with 2 lanes closed after a crane caught fire earlier. We're looking at delays of an hour and a half. On the South Circular, an accident's causing queues in both directions at East Putney Station. It's very slow from Surbiton to Tolworth on the A240 after an accident. And Fulham Road is closed between Fulham Broadway and Stamford Bridge ahead of Chelsea's match against Arsenal tonight. Kick-off is at 8. LBC Travel, I'm Mark Percy.
This is LBC.
Oh, yeah. The high-quality kitchen you've dreamed of at a price well within your budget. That's Room Sense.
That's Room Sense.
The Room Sense January sale is now on, with 50% off our stunning kitchens and free appliances. Visit roomsense.co.uk today.
Quality at a price you can afford. That's Room Sense.
Minimum spend applies.
This is the sound of a Virgin holiday at Walt Disney World Resort, Florida. And this is the sound of it disappearing in our January sale. The Virgin Holiday Sale. It won't last forever. Book direct at your nearest Virgin Holidays store. Seize the holiday. Virgin Holidays. Sale now on. At all protected.
Divorce. It affects every part of your life. You, your family, your home, your finances. And if you're a man facing divorce, perhaps even one you don't want, the situation becomes even more complicated. It's at times like these that you need a professional you can trust. Cordell & Cordell is dedicated to helping men in matters relating to divorce. Call now on 0330 60 60 161 or visit cordell.co.uk, office in central London. A partner men can count on.
Nana's Magic Soup.
I'm looking after my grandson today. He's not feeling well and my daughter's at work. So I'm cooking something to make him feel better. It's lots of stuff he doesn't normally like. Carrots, onions, peppers. Until I put them all in the blender and turn them into a bowl of Nana's Magic Soup. Thanks, Nana. You're welcome, my love.
Make your own magic soup that's packed with flavour and 2 of your 5 a day. Food Love Stories. Brought to you by Tesco.
Do you feel as if you never get enough sleep? Hamsey's Sleep Centres have the answer. Buy a new mattress from our promotional range today and we'll give you up to £100 trade-in on your old one. And up to £200 off your new one, free local delivery, free mattress protector and a free pair of pillows. Plus a full 10-year guarantee. We'll even give you a 100-night sleep trial. Hamsey's, Beckenham, Bexley Heath, Leatherhead, New Malden and Wallington. And at hamsies.co.uk.
Is that Paul?
Yes, it is Paul.
I'm calling from the Big Lottery Fund, just regarding the Man Health project that you've applied to for reaching communities.
Yes, I've had my fingers and toes crossed. Is it good news or bad news?
Paul provides mental health support to young men in his community, thanks to National Lottery players.
We're pleased to tell you that we've awarded you the full amount.
Oh, man, that's unbelievable. It's made my day.
Excellent.
Help make the extraordinary happen. Play Lotto this Saturday. Rules and procedures apply. Players must be 16 or over.
The Nigel Farage Show. Text 84850.
So I left my meeting with Michel Barnier on Monday thinking, well, OK, he wants to sell us cars and cheese and wine and chocolate and for the to be no tariffs on that whatsoever. But when I asked him about us selling services, insurance, other financial services into Europe, his whole body language, his whole demeanour changed, and he made it clear that, frankly, that just wasn't going to happen. Now, Digby Jones went today, Lord Digby Jones, and remember, businessman, crossbench peer in the House of Lords, former Director General of the CBI, and, of course, a trade minister under Gordon Brown. That's really, really important. He went today to see Michel Barnier. He went with John Longworth, formerly the boss of the British Chambers of Commerce, who actually resigned from that job to campaign for a leave vote in the referendum. And John Mills went with them. And John, who runs a mail order, big direct mail order company, and John, the biggest individual private donor to the Labour Party over the course of the last 10 years. So 3 big business figures went to meet Barnier today. And I noticed, just before Digby Jones went into this meeting, he said, I look forward to stressing the need to go into the next round of talks on trade with optimism and the will to get an all-embracing deal. I interviewed him about half an hour ago at the Eurostar terminal rather than attempting to do it live on a moving train. And so the first question I asked Digby Jones is, after that meeting, was he optimistic or did he feel a bit like I did on Monday, pessimistic?
Pessimistic would be a good word to use, Nigel. I form the view that the UK government is talking apples and he's talking pears, or in another way, we're talking about buying a boat and he's talking about selling a house.
Do you know, Digby, when I was with him, I said to him, who are you representing? Are you representing the member states, their companies, their employees, the people? Or are you representing this glass and steel building that we're in? And I think you form the same impression. He's playing a political game here, isn't he?
Oh, yes, I was left in no doubt. By the way, he was utterly courteous. He wasn't in any way arrogant or whatever, although, he's on record as saying I'm a Gaullist politician from France, and I expect the arrogance that comes with that, and I didn't see it. I mean, to his credit, he was utterly charming and indeed hospitable. But without doubt, he is representing Brussels, the status quo, and nothing that we do is going to change that. And we are approaching this as, come on, this is trade, it's in everybody's interest, let's do it. And he's saying no.
I heard him say very clearly he's happy for a tariff-free deal on goods because, hey, they sell us quite a lot of wine and champagne and cheese and chocolate and motor cars. But when I mentioned financial services, I saw this man's whole body language change, his demeanour change. He literally is utterly resistant, in my view, and I wonder whether you share this, to any form of deal on financial services.
Absolutely spot on. It's 80%. Services generally is 80% of our GDP. Financial services is a genuine value added. And people listening to this tonight, they'll say, but just a minute, look what trouble it gave us in the crisis. But it is 8% of our national earning wealth. It's 12% of our tax take. So it's the genuine value-added sector of our economy. If you add on top of that your accountants and your lawyers and all that stuff, you're into big stuff.
Yeah.
Now, only 8% of it is linked to the EU, but it's an important part of it.
Do you think, in your experience of all of this, are there figures within the British government who've got the clarity of vision to grip this and say, and stand up firmly to Barnier and say, look, unless you're prepared to give and start giving now, we will walk out on WTO rules, which actually, folks, will hurt you more than us. Do we have people of the strength to do that?
Well, I think we'd have people of strength to do it if they were people who carried the clout You see, I'm not too sure they get it, Nigel. I mean, what I would like to see is I would like to see our negotiators in March, which is, I understand, when they're going to sit down and do this to start with, and say, we just want on day one, are you going to include services, and are you going to include specifically financial services? Because if you don't, why don't we save everybody an awful lot of time, and we'll give something else if we do that, which is we'll give the businesses of the UK and Europe the clarity of knowing they can plan their lives and their businesses on WTO rules. And I want more businesses, I want more people to say, we are where we are. Now, how do we get stability and plan for the future? The answer is, we're going to do WTO, Mr. Barnier, unless you will give us services. And if you won't, we're all over 21, we all understand where we are, and the answer is, we will leave. And then we can save everybody a lot of trouble and get on with it.
Well, that was Lord Digby Jones, and I have to say, taking very much the view that I took from my meeting with Mr. Barnier back on Monday. And I just wonder, I mean, the very fact that these negotiations on trade aren't even going to start until March tells you something, in my mind, about their attitude. I worry that we're about to go into a very lengthy and perhaps very expensive process with a group of people who clearly don't want an all-encompassing deal, and we certainly shouldn't even contemplate paying them 40 billion sterling if we're not going to get a reasonable end result from it. I think that voice that you've heard today from Digby Jones saying, look, let's not waste our time. You know, we'd love to have a sensible deal. It's better and easier for everybody, but let's not waste our time and money. I think that voice is one that you will hear a lot more from British businesses over the course of the next few months. Back to the British Army, and backing up the call before the break, Simon says, I had a troubled childhood. The Army gave me focus, structure and camaraderie. It changed my life for the better. And there are lots of you saying it changed your life for the better. But the point I'm making is, what are you aiming at? What are your ambitions as an organisation? And surely that slogan that was being used in 2014 of be the best, surely that's the signal, that's the message we should be sending out. Caroline from Hants makes the point, what's the point of recruiting to any area of the forces when all we hear about are cutbacks, redundancies, ex-soldiers homeless, living on the streets, PTSD, loss of limbs, sight, no money, a lack of prosthetics, no thought or support for the families. Caroline, I think that is why they're having trouble recruiting. They're having trouble recruiting because the message that's been going out over the last few years is the last few successive governments have asked people in our services to give more and more, and we in return have put back to them less and less. And I think morale is very bad. I don't think changing these adverts is somehow going to make that better. I think there's a danger it might give us lower standards. If our army is not the best, not elitist, and it is fighting an army that is the best, it's got a problem, and it's likely to come second, I get by text, and I have to say, I do rather agree with it. James is calling from Newcastle, a new caller to the show. Good evening, James.
Hi there, Nigel. How's it going? You all right?
I'm all right. What do you think about this new campaign, James?
Personally, I think it's brilliant. I think it's about time that the British Army started recruiting for these people who might not see themselves as these kind of, superheroes. We're part of, there's a lot of stigma around mental health, so getting people in touch with their feelings or bringing people in who maybe are in touch with their feelings might be better for the British Army as a whole.
Are we saying to people, James, if you can't climb that 12-foot wall, it's okay? I mean, surely the point.
It's not just a case of climbing a 12-foot wall, though. The armed forces is totally self-serving. It does everything itself. We need clerks. We need people to do payroll. You need people to do weapons. You need to do. It's not just these people who are running out and fighting in insurgency and things like that. It's there's so many diverse roles within the British Army. Would you want a solicitor with no actual empathy with army solicitors? Would you want, doctors, dentists, and all these people? Do you want them to be robots? People who can just pick up a rifle and jump in?
I accept that point. You've got an absolute multiplicity of roles within the army. Absolutely right to say that, and so a variety of skill sets is needed. But when you're recruiting for infantrymen or women, do you actually actively want to recruit for people who may be emotionally sensitive?
Because emotional sensitivity does not display a weakness. Emotional sensitivity shows that you're in control of your emotions and that you can control that. That doesn't mean that just because you get upset about something that means you're going to be a weaker person. It means that you get upset about it. People have different ways of dealing with these things.
Do you see why, James, I'm saying that the slogan and the imagery of, fit, athletic people, climbing ropes and walls and firing guns, can you see why I feel that image of 2014 talks to me about a more professional army than what we're seeing today?
Nigel, I've got to go. I'm so sorry, but I will speak to you another time.
All right, well, that's okay, fine. That's what happens on live radio, folks. Things happen. Trains arrive, or whatever it may be. Or if you're Jacob Rees-Mogg on this show, a few months ago, we were interviewing him, at which point one of his 4 or 5-year-old sons came into the room, and Jacob, live on radio, turned to the child and said, you'll have to excuse me, I'm talking to Mr. Farage on the radio. So these things happen. You're listening to the Nigel Farage Show, exclusively on LBC. It's 7:45.
Coming up at 8 on LBC, Clive Bull.
Theresa May is to unveil a 25-year government plan to clean up the environment and tackle the growing mountain of plastic. But what action can be taken?
Clive Bull on LBC.
It's here. It's one of over 1,000 great used vans, and it could be yours.
What's that coming over the hill? Van Monster. Van Monster.
Van Monster has a huge choice of used vans across the UK, all with 6 months warranty and flexible finance options too, like these 2014 Ford Transit Customs from under £9,000 plus 20% VAT. Find your next van right now at vanmonster.com. Representative 13.9% APR.
At Homebase, we want you to challenge us on the price of our new kitchens, even during competitor sales. So come put us to the test and book your free design appointment today. Homebase, always low prices.
What is your dream holiday? A safari in South Africa or a swim in Aruba? How about pancakes in the States or the fresh air of Vancouver? Whatever your choice, KLM gets you there. Book quickly though. KLM's dream deals end on Monday the 15th of January. Check out klm.com and take off.
Crikey, the boiler's gone again. Cold showers. Oh, I'll have to get someone round and tidy up and get better biscuits. I've only got malted milk. I can't have no shower. I've got Zumba on Wednesday. Relax. It's Trust a Trader. Bloomin' lovely tradespeople who do the job right. You pop in your postcode and find great tradespeople right on your doorstep. Oh, he's here. Get the party rings out. Visit trustatrader.com.
So, how's it going? Got off to a great start this year, mate. I've sorted out my finances. How did you do that? I went to chooseocean.co.uk. They told me I'd be accepted for a homeowner loan. Is it all straightforward then? Their smart search compares over 100 loans to find the best deal. Piece of cake. Oh no, thanks. I'm watching my weight. If you're a homeowner, check if you'll be accepted without affecting your credit rating at chooseocean.co.uk. Ocean Finance is a credit broker, not a lender. All loans are secured on your property.
Jack here has got Kev on the phone. As a PlusNet customer, he has lots of friendly people that have his back. Say hi, Kev.
Hi, Kev. Hi?
He can call PlusNet any day of the week. They've already helped him pick a package, upgrade a package, check bills, move home, give him matrix, ordered SIMs, transferred numbers, added buttons, checked his connection speed. And Julie here even helped him settle on Mallorca for his next family holiday.
Don't forget the factor 30.
PlusNet has lots of friendly staff that just can't help but help. It's probably why they've bagged Uswitch as Best Provider for Customer Service Award. PlusNet will do you proud.
Get more for less with Mobalpa kitchens. Stylish on the outside, clever on the inside, with up to 20% more storage space than a standard size kitchen unit. Order now to pay no VAT for a limited time only. Find your nearest Mobalpa kitchen studio at mobalpa.co.uk.
The Nigel Farage Show on LBC.
Do the New Style Army ads appealing to people who are emotional and want to be emotional to join the army. Are they more effective and better than ones as recently as 2014 that said, be the best? Are we dropping our standards or in danger of doing that? Or is this how the modern world operates? Have things fundamentally changed? Emma on Facebook says, obviously, it's fine to be in touch with your emotions and feel free to show them. However, You need to be emotionally strong to be in the armed forces, and you cannot let your emotions get the better, cloud your judgment when your life is on the line. That is what Emma thinks. Some people will write that off as being outdated, but I suspect when the bullets are flying, I've never been there myself, thank goodness, but I suspect when they are, that Emma is probably right. That's my view. What does Alan in Aberdeen think? Good evening, Alan.
Hiya, Nigel. I think we got two issues here. The first one is that the recruitment problem is because of how the current government, previous governments, and the armed forces themselves have been treating serving and ex-serving soldiers, whether it's housing, whether it's PTSD, whether it's they've killed a terrorist, so they've got to be investigated.
Yeah.
And then we've got the other side where we're trying to be too PC. If somebody is going to be offended at something that's said, they're going to be scared of not standing up to a bully, etc., etc. They're not going to be strong enough to be the best in the British Army. At 15, I took my son to the recruiting office to try and get him to join up. At 22, a few months ago, he asked me to join up again. And you know something? I couldn't take him to the recruiting office, and I couldn't encourage him to join. And that is sort of proud ex-soldier.
Alan, how long? 12 years you served for. I mean, you really think the whole thing's gone as badly wrong as that, do you?
Yes, I do.
Gosh.
I'm sad to say, yes, I do.
What? Okay. Well, look, there's no doubt in my mind that the recruitment crisis, whether it's for the regulars or for the reserves, as you say, there is a huge level of dissatisfaction about the way that many returning servicemen and women from Iraq and Afghanistan has been treated, and of that there is absolutely no doubt at all. Alan, as somebody who feels very strongly about it, and by the way, did your son in the end join or not?
No.
He didn't. What do you think needs to be done to turn this round, Alan?
I think that to be the best, I think we have to stop being so politically correct. To be in the armed forces, yes, it has to reflect, the different religions and things like that.
As it always did.
As it always has done, yes.
Yeah.
However, we're trying to be too politically correct with the armed forces. That's what I feel. When we can't do that, when you hear being politically correct is dangerous, to infect the armed forces with it truly is dangerous. We're weakening this country to a point that it shouldn't be. To be the best, you have to be able to stand there with your mates, trust your mates. At the end of the day, forget about the government. It's about your mates that you're standing there with. But we can't drop the standards. We cannot turn a blind eye to things that are going to affect the troops on the ground. We can't do that any longer.
And you fear, Alan, as I suspect, that we may be in danger here of dropping standards.
I personally feel that we are, yes.
Yeah. Alan, thank you. Very passionate, emotional call there from Alan, who thinks and feels things have gone really, very badly wrong. Nigel, I'd sign up tomorrow if it was to defend the country, but not for these follies to get resources. My mate got killed in Iraq in 2008. He was in the Paras and spent most of his time protecting oil fields that are owned by Western companies. Who'd want to sign up for that? It's got nothing to do with ads or slogans, says Matt. Well, Matt, all through history, people sign up and they go to different wars, and some wars they may come back and feel were just, and others they may come back and feel perhaps weren't so just. But despite that sentiment, Matt, normally we've not had a massive problem with army recruitment. We've had a very serious one over the course of the last few years, and let's say I feel this perception of the way servicemen and women have been treated is the problem, and that is the key. And to surrender the idea that the army is an elite unit that wants to be the best in favour of these modern adverts, I frankly don't think is the right approach at all. But Valerie from York will tell me, as a new caller to this show, whether she thinks I'm right or wrong.
I think you're absolutely right, Nigel. I think this is absolutely ridiculous. I honestly can't believe that we are telling the whole world that we are mamby-pambying our troops. The world is very unstable at the moment. And yes, we do look after the troops, but we look after them when they come back from Afghanistan or wherever they've been. We don't need to sort of give them therapy before they go. I honestly and truly feel so angry about this. And I'd also like to mention the poor guys in the First and Second World Wars that didn't get an option. They were just sent off to war. Half of them didn't, or more than half, didn't probably come back. And I just think, what is this country coming to? I really, honestly, truly think, what is this country coming to?
Well,
I actually served voluntary in the Royal Observer Corps and in the Special Constabulary for 20 years. And I never got paid for any of that. And believe me, in the police I saw a lot that I'm not going to actually repeat on there because I haven't got time. But, you know, we all have to go through things. People that aren't even in the forces have to go through things. Nurses, doctors, surgeons, they go through things every day. You know, I think this is ridiculous. We need to give the idea to people that we are a strong country and that we are ready to fight for our country.
I have to say, Valerie, and the only thing I would take issue with what you've said is, you said we look after our soldiers when they've come back from Afghanistan. I'm not sure we've done that as well as perhaps we could have done. But the message it sends is very interesting, isn't it? Because I actually think it is sending a message that we're prepared to drop our standards and to take people...
Well, I can see the ISIS. I can see them laughing their heads off.
Do you think so?
I think all our enemies are laughing their heads off.
Valerie, you sound pretty angry about this.
Angry, Nigel.
Yeah, OK. Well, a very plain-spoken Yorkshire woman, Valerie, there, who really thinks this is a load of namby-pamby nonsense. What does Lee, another new caller to the show from St John's Wood, think? Good evening, Lee.
Good evening, Nigel. How are you?
I'm fine. So what do you think? Will these adverts work?
Well, the problem with this recruitment crisis, I honestly don't believe there is one. I mean, my daughter has been... She decided she wanted to join the army a year ago. Obviously, very proud parent. And since then, she went to the Army Careers Office where she had a very short meeting and she was given a date for it. It's called a PDA, her first appearance there, PDA.
Yep.
Given a date for the PDA. So a week before the PDA, they take her medical records. A week before the PDA, we get a letter saying, unfortunately, due to a medical condition, she can't join the army. Well, she's got no medical condition. But the problem is, as people have said before, the actual application process is now being taken over by a third-party company.
Yes.
And this third-party company basically aren't fit for purpose. So long story short is they've read her medical report wrong. It's their fault, but we've had to appeal. The appeal process took over 3 months, even though we contacted them continuously. Eventually they agree, yeah, sorry, our fault, off you go, young lady. She does her PDA about 2 months ago. She had to do
PDA stands for?
A personal development. It's a one-day... It's because I think girls have to go for it rather than boys, just to make sure that they're near the standard required.
So personal development assessment, or whatever it is. Right, fine.
Yeah, something like that. So on this personal development assessment, you have to do a run, you have to do some lifting, and they give you a presentation. Well, she does the run. They can't do the lifting because there's nobody there trained to do the lifting, and they can't do the presentation because the electric went out. This is at the barracks.
Doesn't sound as professional. Doesn't sound, Lee, as professional as it ought to be, does it?
Well, then, but it gets better than that because then they say, right now, okay, she passed what she had to pass. You'll be hearing from us. This is now another 9 weeks have gone past.
Right.
So she phoned up the army before Christmas. Oh yeah, don't worry, you'll be hearing from us straight after the new year.
Right, Lee, I'm gonna have to stop you, but I've heard enough to convince me that the private company that I cannot name for legal reasons that this has been subcontracted out to are not, to quote Lee from St John's Wood, fit for purpose. Important text, I think, here. Nigel, RE the Army. Don't misunderstand the emotional aspect. The Army will genuinely turn underachievers into achievers. Yep, I think that's right. And many calls tonight and messages have reflected that. It's just the question of how emotionally stable someone needs to be at the point at which they join. I worry we're about to lower standards. I really genuinely, honestly do. You've been listening to the Nigel Farage Show here on LBC. I'm back tomorrow night at 7. Coming up at 10 tonight, it's Ian Collins. But up next, it's Clive Bull.
Nigel, thank you. At 9, it's the Legal Hour. This week we're focusing on divorce with Neil Russell.